Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play team. This actual play uses the 7th edition Call of Cthulhu tabletop role-playing game rules by Chaos. This actual play is performed by adults and in an adult setting. While we try very hard to stick to language for all ages, listeners should know that this podcast may include mature themes. All content, including names, places, events, companies, and etc., that may bear resemblance to entities living or dead, is strictly coincidental. My name is Michael Diamond, and for tonight's game, I will be your keeper. Hello again, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Old Ways podcast. Welcome to Season 3, where we delve back into Chaosium's Masks of Nyarlathotep with our group of investigators. I'd like to first open the show and say thank you to all of our listeners who've participated in the contest and who have joined us on our Discord server for the giveaway event. It was great to chat with you all. Hopefully we'll get a chance to do it again real soon. But first, a word from Lovecraft himself.
I recall that the people went about with pale and worried faces, and whispered warnings and prophecies which no one dared consciously repeat or acknowledge to themselves that they had heard. A sense of monstrous guilt was upon the land, and out of the abysses between the stars swept chill currents that made humans shiver in dark and lonely places. Nyarlathotep, H.P. Lovecraft.
As always, I am your Keeper Michael. To my right,
this is Lonnie. I'll be playing Lawrence Edward Oliver Forsyth, and I have a hole in my back.
You do, sir. You do. You are currently,
I don't know how it got there.
Yeah, darndest thing. Bullets just come out of nowhere. To his right.
I'm Morgan. I play Lillian Lane, and I don't know how that gunshot wound got there either.
Right. She has no idea how it got there. At the end of the virtual table.
This is Jake. I'm playing Jack Doyle. I didn't see nothing. I have no idea what happened.
Fair enough. To his right.
This is James. I'll be playing Dr. Sigmund Tattenbach. And Jack, we really need to talk about this hole in him. Come on.
Yeah, you probably do in more than one way. Last and most certainly not least.
Tiffany, I'm playing Maeve O'Shea, and I don't think I saw anything either.
No, actually, you probably didn't. You were probably just a little bit busy. All right, so as we raise the curtain on Season 3, we bring you, our listening audience, back into the home, the apartment of 1 Lillian Lane. It is the day after the terrifying events at the Carlyle estate, where guests and investigator alike were beset upon by horrors still yet unknown and understood, but managed, at least some of them managed, to get away unscathed. Others of you have been marred by wounds, both physical and mental, and are doing their best to recover. The group has turned its focus to preparing for travel, and a decision has been made between the group that they will go to follow the Carlyle Expedition route towards England. And so as we lift the curtain tonight, we see the attentive doctor caring for his grievously wounded patient, Mr. Forsyth. Miss Lane sits with the receiver of the telephone cocked to her ear, attempting to ascertain what arrangements can be made when it comes to their travel schedule. And meanwhile, Jack is out on the streets of New York City, running down some last-minute items. And so Doctor, we open with you.
Yeah. They're telling you it looks like a bullet wound. That's all I can say is it happened during the combat. I don't remember. But we will treat it as we treat everything. One day at a time. How are you, Mr. Forsyth?
I have had better days, Doctor.
Well, we'll give you something for the pain, of course, and we will definitely stitch you up.
It's become fairly clear to you, Doctor, that you've done the best you can to put him at ease pain-wise, but it's fairly clear that he is going to need an extensive long-term care, probably a week, if not more.
I can provide him with the care, but he is going to need some downtime. There's going to be no walking around or partying for him.
Definitely not. Miss Lane, you are currently waiting for a ship's steward to pick up the line. This is your third call. You never knew that it was so frustrating simply to make a few phone calls.
I sigh. A heavy sigh.
You hear a clatter a bit at the other end of the line. Yes, I'm sorry, ma'am. Where were you trying to book passage to?
Trying to book passage to Europe.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Where?
I'm trying to book passage to Europe.
We need to go to London. I believe we'd be leaving by Liverpool. Maybe perhaps arriving at Liverpool. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, Southampton then, yes?
By Liverpool, if possible.
Right. So the Cunard Line has a ship coming in about 5 days or so. Can take you there.
5 days? Is there anything sooner?
No, ma'am. We just had a ship leave this morning.
We can't move Lawrence anyways.
Well, they have a hospital on the ship probably. Or some sort of wing. Can plop them there for a few days.
Somebody who shoots people would say something like that.
I'm going to need him in a place that doesn't rock back and forth, please.
Oh, okay. 5 days from now, that's fine.
Yes, the journey is anywhere between a week to 9 days from here to Southampton in England.
So Southampton in England. Okay, not Liverpool?
Yes, it's on the coast.
I need to book first class passage for 5 individuals.
All right. And then how many staterooms then?
I usually have somebody doing this for me. I have not a clue. How many rooms does stateroom?
Five rooms would probably be the easiest way to do it.
Perfect.
Very well. For voyage there, first class, it's $270 per guest.
$270. Jesus Christ. You know, even in the 2020, I don't want to pay $270 per person.
That's I can totally understand, but you are booking transatlantic.
I know.
First class fare. So while Morgan may not want to pay that, it's not unreasonable for Lillian.
It's chump change for Lillian.
Well, I mean, it works out to, give or take, it works out to about $1,300 or so, $1,350. It's not impossible for Miss Lane given her credit rating.
That's fine. I would pay that in 2020, but damn.
So did you want to book the rooms?
Yes, please.
Very well. And then who should I book? What name should I book under then, ma'am?
You can book that under Lillian Lane.
All right, Lane, L-A-N. Okay. He gives you times and days for you to be available at the dock in New York. And then tells you that when you arrive there, he gives you some general directions where first class passengers are supposed to arrive at. And then it's at that point you'll pay for your ticket and be issued the proper paperwork to get on the ship and get your effects loaded. He tells you that if you have any assistants or servants and whatnot that are going to be coming aboard, they would ask you just to make sure that the paperwork is properly marked.
It will just be me and my guests.
Very well, ma'am. The Carlyle Line welcomes you, and we look forward to your voyage. The RMS Aquitania is a wonderful ship, and I'm sure that she will serve you well on your trip to London.
Thank you so much. We will see you in 5 days.
Absolutely. He hangs up.
I put down the receiver and... Is there anybody in the room with me?
I would imagine.
I am now.
That, Doctor, was a ridiculous process to go through to try to get voyage.
I do apologize, my dear.
Oh, no. It's not you. It's the process.
Well, the process is unfortunately, well, it can be complicated. Believe me, I do identify. This is what happened when I had to come here from Germany.
But we do set sail in 5 days, and everybody gets their own room, or a stateroom.
Wunderbar, Miss Lane. You did very well.
Thanks.
Yeah, honestly, Doctor, 5 days is a relief. You were worried that the vessel was going to be ready far earlier than that, and then you were worried about having to basically, kind of fashion some way to get Lawrence to the dock. 5 days should give you a little bit of time with him to prepare him for movement.
For extended travel, and let him patch up a little bit on his own.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is post, fight, post combat. The first day, the first few days, the first week is some of the most critical time you're going to have with him. It's really important that he rest up.
Miss Lane, I cannot watch him all the time. Perhaps you would help me keep an eye on Mr. Forsyth just to make sure he is okay. I am used to having someone to help me. I miss Lily. But she is not here. Which reminds me, I have to give her a call.
Sure, I'd be happy to help.
Wunderbar, my dear. Thank you.
So, Miss O'Shea, you're probably a bit removed from all of this between space in the house and the patients and whatnot and the booking going on. Where, given the size of Miss Lane's apartment and the room, the good rooms left, where would you be spending your time at?
Anywhere that's quiet, so I can continue to study.
Okay. Yeah, there's a ton of different locations here that are comfortable, available for study. You have quite a few objects that are relatively unknown to you, and everything that you encountered at the eclipse was shocking in more than one way. You still have a fair amount of things to kind of rifle through and sift through. So I guess what I'd like to know is, where is she putting her energy at? Where is she looking at? The headpieces, the mask stuff. Is she looking at books again?
I'm looking at the books that Carlyle had.
Okay.
Since that's the path we're going to be following and stuff.
Sure. So you have the books out of the safe from the Carlyle estate. You have several of them. We went into a bit of a description on a few of them. My question, I guess, to you is, which... there's a few of them as well, so I guess which one is the one that garners the most interest?
First, I want to read through his journal. Right? We got his journal. Correct?
No, you did not get the dream journal.
That's right.
Because it wasn't there.
Then I'm looking at the... Hold on. Let me look at what I have here.
You have as far as the books go, you have read, for better or for worse, Africa's Dark Sex. You have that white leather book
Right.
that has Life as a God.
Mhm.
That's what it's called. That's the book that the doctor identified as being made out of human skin. You also have another one of the pieces, which is essentially another white leather cover. It's a relatively slim volume, and it looks like the pages and leather cover are actually in really good condition. They seem to have been printed, and with a fair amount of care. The most striking feature on the book is this an unusual medallion on the front cover. It almost feels like a piece of rock, maybe. You have to study it a little bit more, but just kind of looking at the front page, there's actually an inscription on it. There's a note, and it says, to Mr. Roger Carlyle, I hope you find these words to be as inspiring as yours were to me at our last meeting. And you don't see a note other than that. That's just all it says.
Okay. I guess I'll start with that one. And you said the one was Life as a God, and then what was the other one?
So the Life as a God is the one with flesh.
Right.
It's the easiest way to put it out there. The next one is this one that you have in your hand, the one that was inscribed to him.
Does it have a name of who it's from?
This is called The People of the Monolith.
Oh, okay. Apparently I didn't write it down. Sorry.
That's okay. I didn't give it to you first. Because we didn't go through this book when you looked at them during that scene. We didn't go in depth in this book.
Oh, right. And then the third book I have. What was the first one you said?
The third book you have is one that caught your eye earlier because of the symbol.
Oh, right.
This is the one that the pale green leather cover.
Mm-hmm.
There's no title, but there's that peculiar pentagram-like symbol seared into the binding.
Right, that's the one I'm going to look at.
Right. The title page, when you open it up, gives the work's name. So it is called the Noctic Manuscripts, and that's PNAKOTIC. It says, as written in the so-called Noctic Scrolls, as translated from Greek by author, and then kind of goes into a short description there. It looks like the typeset is an archaic type of English. You'd have to make some sort of language roll to know a little bit further about it. There is a date, though, and it looks like it's 1496. But the binding doesn't seem to match that. Like, the binding looks a lot newer.
Okay, well, that's the Noctic scripts are the one I'm going to look at first, and I'm going to study that one first. So
Okay,
you want me to make a language roll?
I do want you to make a language roll, yes.
Okay. Okay, because I have two languages, which would be English and Latin.
Yeah, this is technically considered an English roll.
Okay. 32 out of 78.
Okay, so that's a hard success. That's good. It takes you a little bit of time, just that first morning after you have breakfast and you have coffee, and you kind of sit down and begin to get into scholarly mode, and the seconds begin to click by in minutes and then hours. And probably by 10:30 a.m., you realize that it's been 3 hours now. And you've spent most of that time just skimming over the book and trying to decipher the type of English that it's been written in. So a couple of things kind of come to you. One is that this book is definitely written in a late Middle English tongue. So that does present a bit of a increased difficulty of transcribing the text, right? You kind of have to write some words down and refer to other books that you have on just kind of how to decipher the linguistic changes between now and then. You do see that the work, it seems to be a translation of an otherwise unknown series of documents. So it refers to this group of scrolls initially, right? The Noctic Scrolls. It keeps talking about them. It keeps referencing them. And this manuscript seems to be a translation of those. So they were brought to the West after the fall of Constantinople in 1493. And that just kind of, the idea, when you first decipher that part of it, really gets your energy up. Because a lot of stuff was lost in the fall of Constantinople. It talks about there being other translations. Kind of get the feel of different energy as you're moving through the pages. The translator here claims to have obtained the work, the Noctic Scrolls and the Scroll of Noctis, from an unnamed refugee in the Byzantine Empire. And that the translation itself was made with some other Greek scholar. The person's not named. But for the most part, the text is just this haphazard jumble of myths outlining a history, right? Various fabulous kingdoms and civilizations of Earth before the rise of man. And it's when you read stuff like that before the rise of man, your ears kind of, the pressure changes in them a little bit. You feel something grow. The discussions include cataloging of races and places of these races and where they lived on Earth during the ages before man even existed. You hear about a myriad of inhuman deities and a whole rampant collection of creatures and beings that have never been mentioned before, and all sorts of traces of mythic history that are put into this book of non-human. So this vast non-human library called so-called City of Noctis, which describes human empires who consulted improbable others or deities of some sort of flying barrel-shaped beings. It describes, in your mind, anything potentially from demons to things you've only seen in the strangest of visions and texts. It seems, moreover, as you kind of get your mind around it for the rest of the day, that this work is a compilation of a ton of different mystical text, and that person has kind of tried to take all of these disparate stories about this era and these places and kind of smush them into a manuscript, a single binding tome.
Sounds like fun reading to me.
That is what you are doing. At the end of the day, we will discuss what comes next for you.
Ooh, fun.
But for now, we go to the probably snow-covered shoes of one Jack Doyle as he moves out into the New York street life to fasten up some loose ends. So, Jack, you have definitely some things on your mind.
I'll start going down the book row.
Okay.
I'll find one of the stores down there.
Okay. You find a store. Anything specific you're looking for?
I think I'm going to look at books on history, North Africa, Egypt.
Okay. So you start kind of hitting the library row, as it were, the book row. There's all sorts of collected books on. Most of them have been written by English authors about Africa and the like. And the recent uptick in focus on Egyptian history specifically has produced a fair amount of volumes.
So maybe I'll talk to somebody like the shop owner or something, if he can recommend some.
Yeah, the shop owner comes around to help you, and
See, I tell him like, hey, I'm going on a expedition to eat up some of the other areas in the area. I was wondering if you had any books that would kind of give me a general background, something.
yeah, absolutely. So he picks out 2 specific books for you. One is a book on Egyptian history. It looks like it's probably a good 10 or 15 years old. And then the other one he picks out for you is a book on Africa. So it talks about it being the dark continent, and you see that there's I wouldn't say, let's just say that they've put a lot of work into the cover itself. And so you're not really sure if this is a book that's aimed at adults or children.
Oh, I guess I'll find out.
Okay. Yeah, the books don't cost you very much. So it's easily something that you can get a hold of.
And maybe I'll stop in a couple of shops and kind of just pick up books here. I have some time on my hands, so I might as well learn something.
So you go through, you grab a couple of books. You actually come out of book row with probably 5 total books. They vary in size and in scope, but you're probably certain that Miss O'Shea will appreciate it.
Good, And then I want to head over to St. Patrick's Cathedral.
Yeah, absolutely. It has been some days since your last confession.
Or since I've gotten to New York.
Yeah, so it's been a couple of weeks. So yeah, St. Patrick's is more than happy to see you. It's broad, and tall cathedral is a welcome sight.
Go in and over to the confessional.
Yeah, you head in and go to the confessional booth, and you are joined a few moments later by a priest who slides the wood divider aside and says, "My son, how long has it been since your last confession?"
2 or 3 weeks.
Please continue.
Let's see, where do I start? Violent confrontations. I have killed bad men.
It is important when we talk about confessing our sins that we understand that there are specific elements. We must understand that you are confessing these sins to me so that we may clear your mortal soul of these black marks. What penance are you willing to pay?
I'm willing to pay. I must.
Well, he shifts a bit in the wood seat. Then, may I suggest, my son, that you say your Hail Marys and do not miss the offering cup on the way out. He slides the wood divider back closed. Yeah, you as a good Catholic go and say your penances. You notice that you pass another gentleman on your way down, or you're on your way to lighting candles and whatnot to say your prayers, and you notice that their confessional box here has a lock on it, and it's fairly robust.
Bet. Well, I'll say my Hail Marys, and so then I will drop, put 10 in the optional.
Yeah, that's probably reasonable considering all the things that you've done. Like murder and
Murder is such an awful way of saying.
you shot someone in the head and you caved someone's skull in. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah, okay.
It was
Right.
self-defense.
I mean, it was, yeah.
I prefer the term manslaughter. I prefer
Right.
manslaughter. It sounds cooler.
And you know what? I don't know if I'm going to take advice from the guy who cold-bloodedly murdered an old man.
well, Methodists are allowed. I mean, that's
Right.
anyway.
Okay, if I didn't want to murder people in the street, I wouldn't have a religion in the first place.
Yeah, you do your religious due diligence, as is important. You feel after paying your penance, both in word and in coin, you feel like something has been lifted off your shoulders, and you feel better.
And I will head back to his apartment.
Okay. Miss Lane, during the lunch hour, your phone rings, and Hannah walks over, and would you like me to get that?
Yes, please, Hannah.
He picks up the receiver and says, Lane residence. One moment, I'll see if she's available. She sets the receiver down on the table nearby and kind of walks back over to you. There is a Mr. Ramsey's on the phone.
Oh, yes, I will take that.
Very good.
I go over and pick up the receiver.
Hannah kind of clears up some of the lunch stuff that folks have been finished with. And she tries to kind of focus her duties there. Miss Lane.
This is Lillian.
Yeah, actually, the one note I would make before we pass Hannah much more, I would like to determine what you told Hannah about Charles, because he doesn't come back from the estate.
What did they do? What was Miss Carlyle? Oh, she was gonna have them sweep it under the rug, wasn't she?
Miss Carlyle said that she would handle it like the Carlyles had done before. And so, I mean, take that for what you will. But I guess what I would want to know is, would Miss Lane have left Charles's body there for Erica Carlyle to deal with? Because she probably didn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't know how to explain Charles's body being the way it was if we had to take it somewhere because somebody would ask questions.
They would.
So I could say I would probably tell her that Charles went back home, because I'm assuming he's probably not from here, or his family wasn't. And he went back home to his family because one of his family members was sick. Okay. Like we had received notice via telegram or something.
Okay. She's probably been a little confused today, but other than that, she's in reasonable spirits. You'll just have to.
I'd be like, Hannah,
live with the fact that you're lying.
The guilt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You bet. And you used
I would feel guilty about that.
Used a professional and social contact to hide a body. And I just want to make sure that you understand that Miss Lane is going to have that rattling around inside her head for a little bit.
Yep.
Okay.
And she feels guilty about that. And it's better than telling Hannah, Charles got killed by some cultists from Africa.
Right, exactly. So you hear a voice on the other end of the phone that you've heard before, and that is the rather jovial voice of your lawyer friend, Carlton Ramsey.
Mr. Ramsey.
Yeah. Miss Lane, how are you?
Well, I've had better days, but I've had maybe worse days. Maybe.
Worst days. Oh, we've had some of those lately. But I'm actually calling with good news. But before
Fantastic.
before I get to my good news, I am trying to figure out. I hadn't heard from Jack. I hadn't heard from anybody. Tell me how the investigation is going.
Well, we pretty much wrapped up the murder of Jackson Elias.
Really? That's how.
Yes.
Okay. So, who's responsible?
It would be the Cult of the Bloody Tongue
Hmm.
out of Africa. We had some run-ins with them.
Jack, you come back in during this conversation.
He's gonna rip the phone out of my hand.
Give me that goddamn phone.
Shush.
You stop talking.
I look over at Jack as he walks in and I'm like, Jack, it's Mr. Ramsey on the phone. Would you like to speak to him?
Oh, certainly.
Perfect. Mr. Ramsey, I'm going to hand you off to Mr. Doyle.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you, Miss Lane. You have a wonderful day.
You too. Then I hand the receiver over to Jack and I go sit down.
Sir Ramsey.
Yeah. How we doing?
Doing well.
I was just chatting to Miss Lane there and asking her about the investigation. I got word here that looks like the legal case against Hilton might be going our way.
That looks like it. We found some evidence to clear him.
Yeah.
Mr. Long.
Well, evidently, I got word that a certain captain, 14th Precinct, might be out of a job relatively soon.
It's very good to hear.
Yes.
I'm going to join the main room.
Okay.
Fortunately, we had gone over to the Carlyle estate. We were there. We were attacked by the ringleader of this fellow of the cult.
Everybody okay?
Forsyth was badly injured. For the most part, the rest of us.
All right. Is there anything I need to do?
Miss Carlyle is going to clean it all up from her end. Understand?
I'll keep that in mind. I may reach out to Miss Carlyle in case she needs any services. She's a very well-connected lady, obviously, but I would rather not have any kind of blowback on a lot of you.
Right. Very appreciated. So we're looking at it out to England.
Really?
Some loose ends to investigate there. And if everything goes well there, we'll be heading to Egypt afterward.
It sounds like a hell of a trip. You have a way to get a hold of me by telegram. It will slow, I'll only be able to help you so much from here, but I'll do the best I can. So I guess wire if you need anything. And, if you are going to England first, let me bring Jonah. I know he knows somebody over there. Maybe he can help. Well, I wish you luck. When do you leave?
I have no idea. Miss Lane was taking care of everything. I was out running some errands, so hope soon.
I'll say this much: don't drink too much. I know the ships over there. Once you get on them, it's a holiday, so be careful.
Yeah.
And Jack, just remember, you can't trust anybody.
Learning that.
All right, then. Well, stay safe. Keep me updated.
Do so.
And get receipts.
Of course.
He hangs up.
Who was that, Jack?
Mr. Ramsey. him in on everything.
Wunderbar. I have sedated Mr. Forsyth.
When do we leave?
We cannot leave. We cannot move Mr. Forsyth for more than a week. I think Miss Lane said 5 days, and the ship leaves.
That's correct. Yes, we leave in 5 days.
I have sedated
Right.
Mr. Forsyth for now. His wound was too grievous for him to be awake in that amount of pain.
It's fair.
Yeah, it just in game terms, he was a point away from getting a major wound in the season finale. So to say that he is laid up and in need of serious bed rest is kind of an understatement.
Are we able to regain any hit points right now?
So the way hit point recovery works in Call of Cthulhu is if you rest or take, relatively little action, you can regain a hit point once a day. So first aid only is going to help you within the first hour of taking damage. Medicine is something where you can get more hit points back, but again, it has to be done within a certain period of time. But it's not as stringent. It's just that, for Forsyth, he is going to have to. It's a long road for him, unfortunately. But if we want to talk about game terms, if we turn the clock forward 5 days in this episode, then he'll have regained 5 hit points, and at that point he'll be about, it'll be reasonable enough for him to move around a little bit. He'll at least be able to walk. I mean, in this case that he's in the state that he's in right now with the doctor attending him, Sigmund wouldn't advise him moving at all. He needs to stay where he's at and move very little. So
He is confined to bed rest, and so there he should stay.
right. Yeah, that's probably the way that you would play it anyway. That said, it's not like you can't spend 5 days preparing for a trip overseas, because this will be your first non-wartime trip over, Jack, and that'll be something that hopefully will be very interesting.
I'll be a lot more comfortable too.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. You're not without the doughboy uniform. Yeah. So Shay, I'm assuming you're spending the balance of the day looking at this Noctic manuscript.
Yeah.
So this book seems to make a lot of reference to, as we said before, the pre-human era, which again is just crazed talk for you. But there is one name in here that does seem to come up, right? That you do notice and actually connect with. And it's deeper into the book. You see a reference to the city of Atlantis.
Interesting.
There is some footnote here too, a few pages beyond that there's some footnote that's scribbled on the existence of the city of the Great Race. Well, you're not really sure what that is, but you can tell that they use a capital casing for the city, and then Great Race are also in capital letters. So there's definitely something to this.
Okay.
In an initial read, if that's what you're doing, if your plan is to do an initial read per the rules, then you've made your language roll. It's crazy time, everybody. No.
I was waiting for it. I'm like, who am I burning today?
Well, I mean, who are you not burning? That's the question. Okay, so you've made the language roll. That's important. And then now what you need to do is you are going to lose some sanity, which is unavoidable.
Lame.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do about it. You're reading about the time before man. You lose a single point of sanity, and you gain, during your initial read, 3 points of Cthulhu Mythos.
Oh, sweet.
This is a pretty dense tome. Okay. So you estimate full study might take you, it could take you 4 months. And it's
Okay.
not,
Even
Yeah,
with quick
that's me
study.
taking it into account. Yeah.
Oof.
So it's not just that the book is several different manuscript portions, right? It's 5 different bound manuscript portions. The thing is that the text itself is all over the place as far as its language goes. It so differs from, you're going to have to basically take it from this kind of modified late Middle English and then get it into something that's readable. So, but yeah, that's what you spend your time doing during the day. You don't go completely, crazy.
I bring Maeve some supper, by the way, when it comes to about that time.
She's continuing to work and to read, and she seems relatively calm.
Thank you for the food.
And does he have like a fire extinguisher, like in one hand, or no?
He backs out of the room slowly. No, I'm kidding.
Comes in with a bucket of water.
Of course, my dear. If I want you to be well and I want you to be safe, just if you are feeling odd from reading any of those books, please let us know. All right? No more fires.
I'll do my best. Sometimes, if you're going to try and understand this, you have to be in the same mindset as the person who wrote it.
Which means crazy. So, my question to the investigators here, minus Mr. Forsyth, who is comfortably resting and essentially, hopped up on drugs, so he's asleep. For the 4 of you, do you have any pre-voyage things that you're doing other than what you've done already? So if we just kind of take it around the normal horseshoe, Miss Lane, is there anything else that you're doing to prepare to take an international trip?
I would probably be working with Hannah to get all my things packed up.
Okay. I guess I would ask, are you going to notify your parents that you're leaving the country?
That would be silly. No, I would. Yes, I would probably write them and let them know I'm not calling.
Because if we call them, then they'll possibly object. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So you work with Hannah to get things coordinated. Hannah asks if you'd like to have the apartments, the apartment buildings chauffeur prepare our things, like as far as getting us to the docks, or
That would be lovely. Thank you, Hannah.
Okay. She steps in over the next few days a little bit firmer into the role of hybrid assistant, where she's preparing meals and she's also doing some of the things that Charles was doing as far as your butler duties, so to speak, just because you don't really have anyone else that can do all 3 things.
Yeah, I do make a note that I will have to hire a new butler after coming back from our overseas trip.
Sure. So Jack, in the 4 days that you'll have left, are you doing anything specific?
So I need to have 3 conversations.
Okay.
One, is any of these 4 days over a Sunday?
Well, if we look at the calendar,
I want to call home. It'd been nice if I could have done it on Sunday, but any day I guess we'll do.
yeah, I mean, you could have done it the night you came back from your trip out to get books. That would have been a Sunday. So you would have spoken to Carlton on a Sunday. So yeah, absolutely.
I want to call home. No, my family
Okay.
gets together on Sundays.
Just basic stuff.
But I'll be gone. I'll be out of the country for a while. I'll try to write home as often as I can.
Yeah, absolutely. They show legitimate amount of genuine concern. They hope everything is okay. They mentioned that things are a little easier to go overseas now that there's not a war on.
Right, yeah. I want to talk to Miss Lane.
Sweet.
Miss Lane,
Mr. Doyle.
I'd like to have a little conversation.
All right. Let's converse.
Oh, I understand that you're, I don't know, excited to be involved in the investigation, let's say. But I think maybe you're going to want to tone it down a bit.
That's like pot calling the kettle black. That's off character, by the way.
That should totally be in character.
What I'm
Sorry. All right, go ahead.
what I'm saying is that specifically at, and I've noticed a couple times, but specifically at the Carlyle mansion, I noticed you race towards the attacking cultists in the beginning. How did how did you think that was going to play out?
Well, I thought from my end it was going to go really well, but I didn't have any weapons, so it really didn't go well.
Yeah. See, that's kind of what I'm saying. Is that
Yeah. So what you're saying is I should be armed every time I go somewhere. Is that what you're saying?
that's something. Also, maybe, and we'll keep this between us. Shooting Mr. Forsyth in the back was probably a bad idea.
I didn't think you saw that.
Are you guys in the main room while you're talking about this?
I don't want to have this conversation out around everyone else, specifically where that Mr. Forsyth can overhear it.
It's all going to come out in the wash.
He's sedated.
Oh, he won't be. Don't worry, he won't be hearing you.
But
So, go ahead.
I just think that we need to maybe be a little bit more strategic about how we go about doing things. So you notice that fight, that gunfight there, I did not shoot into that combat going on with Forsyth, Maeve, and one guy because it was dangerous. See what I'm saying?
That I understand. That, yes, I totally understand. Let's not tell Mr. Forsyth about that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he needs to know.
No, I mean, like when the battles started happening out on the veranda.
That's right. It's a veranda.
I noticed that you went right into the midst of danger as well. I just thought I was being a good investigator by taking your cue.
Oh, okay. One, I'm actually a trained combatant. I mean, I fought in the war. I've had a few gunfights. And two, I was using my gun well behind the actual fighting.
It's true. So,
okay, at this point, I've got to be able to hear you too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's
yelling.
reasonable.
I don't.
I think it's well, and I guess the only thing I would say is if Jack approached Lillian in her study or somewhere that's off in the. Remember, her apartment is.
Yeah, I kind of figured she'd be in her study or something like that when I talked to her.
Her apartment is really big, so it's reasonable that these two could have a maybe not they're not shouting by any means, but they could have a louder conversation without necessarily setting off anybody.
So I just tell Mr. Doyle that I'll make sure to have the appropriate weapons on me in any given time.
I think what we need to start doing is kind of coordinating our actions in a fight like that or a situation. Just don't go rushing in half-cocked. I for everybody's safety, including your own. You understand what I'm saying?
I think that's a great idea. I think we could all do that.
I agree. I mean, we've all had a situation where maybe we have not acted appropriately, myself included, definitely.
Indeed.
Yes. So about Mr. Forsyth, we're gonna just not tell him.
Let's gloss over it. We don't know what happened. He's already got a
It
chip
could have
on his
been from
shoulders.
anywhere.
So.
At least it wasn't the elephant gun.
Right.
Oh,
I
man.
don't think we'd be having this conversation if it was the elephant gun.
No.
Be a
Thing
whole different discussion.
Well, yeah. Thanks
Well,
for the
you know,
conversation. That was a good pet talk.
I just think I think it was a good thing to clear the air on that kind of.
Yeah.
I want to pull I want to pull the doctor in for our next conversation because I want it to be between.
You'll find him in the main room mixing a drink.
Doctor, could you come here a second?
Yeah, Jack, one moment. What can I do for you, Jack?
So, Dave.
Maeve?
Um,
What offer?
You know the fire starter.
oh yeah, that and
Okay, but I don't shoot people.
okay, you're not there.
You're not in here.
I'm just saying. You're not with them either.
I think I am.
Oh,
Aren't
no,
I in
yeah,
with you guys?
I try. This is between the three of us.
See,
Awesome.
We're not conspiring against you. We're concerned for you.
It's all for everyone's
That's
better.
what they all say.
So, I think it's not gone unnoticed that Maeve has been under a great deal of stress lately.
those books.
To say the least.
Right. She's learned. Her knowledge is essential to our investigations so far, and that's great. But it's also putting a lot more strain on her than maybe she's capable of dealing with on her own.
And she is right back at it right now.
Right.
I am worried for her sanity.
And so am I. I mean, obviously, we need this information. On the other hand, we're asking a great deal from her. So I'm thinking maybe we need to try to help her as best we can.
To help her with that research. We
Her
could, but she
research.
is so much more knowledgeable than us.
Not her research. I think try to help her.
You want us to remain her anchors to keep her grounded.
You know, I've seen guys snap under pressure like this, and I think maybe if we can just find a way to help her talk her way through it. But knowing Maeve, she's not going to just let us help her.
No, I do not think that is the way she works.
Well, stubborn.
It seems as though many of the women around here have a stubborn streak about them.
I am not going to talk.
I look over at Doctor and I just kind of give him the look.
Big smile, raised eyebrow, goes back to his drink.
I think maybe if we can try to create a social situations with Maeve.
Try not to leave her alone so much.
Yeah, and maybe urge her to talk about time out, especially on the ship.
Yeah.
We can play some games or something, cribbage or something like that.
Cribbage.
I have never played.
There's a board and pegs. I think that's cribbage. Yes, I agree. We should try to mitigate Maeve's stress level.
Meanwhile, in the other room. Okay, so those are your conversations, Jack. That's what you needed to.
Yeah, that's all I needed.
Okay, good. And so I guess, Doctor, the next 5 days would fall to you. Beyond the things that we know that you're doing, which are treating your patient, you had mentioned wanting to reach back out to Lily.
Yes, I want to call Lily, definitely. Or the doctor, I want to have the doctor call Lily. As well as he's going to be looking for a new replacement cane. The cane he got was for all fanciness, but he's used to a certain style of cane and this doesn't have that. So
Yeah, the current cane does not have a sword blade in it.
it does not, and that has become useful more than once. So
Yep.
or at least once.
So I'll say that within the 5-day period, should you choose to utilize Miss Lane's contacts, it should be relatively reasonable for you to find a replacement sword cane.
Awesome.
Just because she knows the New York City area and you don't. Which day are you choosing to call Lily back? The Monday, the Tuesday?
I'll call her on Monday. Call her at the office. I know she'll be there. First thing.
You call her. She answers. You hear her bright voice come on the phone. Dr. Tottenbach's office. Lily speaking.
Lily, this is Dr. Tottenbach. How are you?
Doctor, how are you? How is New York?
It's cold, and the people in here are not nearly as friendly as they are in my beloved Chicago.
Oh well, I'm sorry to hear that. It's been cold here too. What can I do for you? I'm sorry, the doctor's not in.
Well, I am calling to make sure that you are all right and that any current patients are okay, and to let you know that my expedition will be traveling. I will be traveling quite a bit longer, unfortunately. It is unforeseen, but the investigation is going to take me overseas.
Oh wow. Yeah, the cases here have been relatively quiet for the most part. I haven't had anything here that's been too difficult for me.
And how are you faring, young lady?
Well, I'm doing my best to hold up my end of the bargain. But maybe when you get back, we can talk about nursing school.
It is a conversation I will be more than glad to have with you, Lily. You have more than earned it. Nursing school or even a doctor's school. I think you have the capacity to do anything you set your mind to, young Fräulein.
Yes. Miss Fairchild stopped by recently.
What did she?
Yes, she's been having some trouble sleeping. And so she tried to avail herself of the medicinal remedies here, and I politely wrote her a very light prescription for some sleeping aids.
Wunderbar. Good choice and a good thought on your part. Thank you, Fräulein.
Oh,
I have left my practice in capable hands.
I'm doing my best, Doctor. I will always do my best for you.
Well, I just wanted to call to check up on you and to make sure you are okay and to let you know that we will not be returning as quickly as we had thought. But when we get back, I will have many stories for you.
Of course. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you from here.
I will, and thank you, young Lily.
She gives you a pleasant goodbye and hangs up the phone. I feel a little bit better having checked in back at the office.
I had let it go for a little while.
It's been a few weeks, yes. It's nice to see that folks haven't forgot where they came from, at least for the moment. Okay, so you get your sword cane, you treat your patient, you've spoken to Lily. The next few days then for you is really just kind of mentally and physically preparing to move your patient.
Yeah, mentally preparing to move my patient, physically, and then watching over Maeve as well and making sure that in her studies that she's okay as well.
So speaking of Miss O'Shea, troublemaker that she is, what is she doing with the balance of her time?
Still studying.
Okay.
Probably as much as possible.
So beyond the initial read, you're going to continue to study? Or are you going to go to the next book that you want to do an initial read on?
Yeah, I'm going to go to... I'm going to read People of the Monolith.
Okay. So you go through People of the Monolith, and it seems anyway that it's really more a book of poems. It's actually interesting because you go from reading something that it's late Middle English to reading something that is written in English, and it was written in 1918. So it's handwritten by Justin Joffrey. It contains poems, and it's bound in a very strange type of leather. And why don't you give me a Cthulhu Mythos roll when you're examining the actual book itself?
Soylent Green is people.
Soylent Green is people.
But it's good people.
Tasty people.
Nope. 23 out of 17.
Yeah, that's okay. So the covering of the book itself is rather strange. Whatever this material is, it's not something you recognize.
It's not like the other book?
It's not like the other book. Nope. It's not like the crazy human flesh book.
Okay.
This is something else. It's leather made from something else. We don't know what. It's a relatively slim volume. Anyway, and there's a couple of relatively unique poems in here. In one of the poems, you read about grand jewelry of an Egyptian queen. You read about a headpiece. You read about a girdle or some sort of waist belt that's worn by her. There's quite a bit of talk in this poetry about her paraphernalia. This poem is called Trappings of a Queen, and it catches your eye just because it gives you very vivid detail of what these pieces look like.
Kind of like some of the stuff we have?
No, it's definitely not some stuff you have per se. This volume is so slim. You could probably finish this before you got on the boat.
Okay.
So I guess my question is past the initial read, which of course you will lose some sanity for. So again, lose another point. You gain a point of Cthulhu Mythos for doing the initial read. I guess my question is it something, is she one of those readers where she looks at the book and goes, I can get through that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, definitely. If I think I've got time, like if it's like, oh, I can do this before we get on the boat, yeah, totally.
Yep. Okay. So you lose, throughout the week, you lose another point of sanity from doing a full read. And you gain 2 more points of Cthulhu Mythos. It's a striking tome, and the poetry it's not pretty good, to be perfectly honest. You enjoy reading it, and that's the thing that is almost a bit frightening as you put it down. Your dreams are filled with all sorts of Egyptian-inspired items, whether it be imagery of Ra or Set, or the mummification rituals that you've read about before, or grand cities. There's all sorts of imagery in your dream over the next few nights. That said, the overall tome itself is still disturbing. There's definitely a theme within these poems, whether it be the structure or whether it be the actual links themselves between the poems. Menace, horror, and then sometimes an almost romantic nihilism.
Okay.
Almost not just death, but that love of dying. That sums up what you pull from this tome for the week. And before you prepare to leave, you easily tuck it away, knowing that you've gained quite a bit from it.
Fun times.
With that behind us, we will set the clock for the next session. roughly at January 29th, which is the day the RMS Aquitania leaves the New York Harbor. So when we gather together again, it will be casting off day. So I want to thank everybody for listening and sharing and interacting with the show. Your feedback is something that we greatly appreciate. There are a ton of ways to get a hold of us via social media, our Discord server. You can interact with us on Reddit or on Facebook. We greatly enjoy your feedback, and we hope to hear from you soon. So thank you for joining us for the opening of Season 3 as we play through Chaosium's Masks of Nyarlathotep, and as we set sail in just a few days for England. Have a good night, everybody.